Hey, what's up guys, it's Fish here and welcome to this extremely special video. I am joined by the sole developer on Massive Epic Battle Simulator.
Hello, it's Rob. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I'm so excited about the game itself, and what we're going to do is we're just basically going to run through some questions I came up just to kind of give people a better understanding of the game itself. So I think what we should do to start off the interview is just kind of, let's talk about, for those people who have no idea what your game is, what is Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator about?
Well, it's this crazy sandbox that I built around a technology which enables probably the largest battles you've ever seen. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but
I mean, it's
the goal
definitely
is
the
to
largest
provide
I've seen.
well, the goal is to provide total freedom to the player as well as some comedy relief like units like chickens and penguins and lots of other crazy things.
And basically these units just kind of clash together on a field of like a
Yes.
certain terrain, which we'll get onto. We have questions like that later on down the line. So cool, basically just a massive
Yeah.
sandbox arena which can have, how many soldiers have you managed to get in the engine at the moment?
Well, I've done stress tests up to over 100,000. I have tried even upwards of 1 million before,
Wow.
but those are not numbers I recommend. Not even like 100,000 is a stress test, like I said, right? But in the game, there's no actual limit to how many characters you can have in a battle. So that's up to the player and his computer, of course.
So basically how much I want to push their CPU until it explodes, basically.
Basically, yes. But what I have written down as my kind of disclaimer is I don't recommend over 10,000 because, most gaming PCs will start going under 60 FPS, once you're over 10,000 guys. But it kind of you can just keep pushing it more and more if you really want. And I've never had any real crashes, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure some people might end up crashing their computer and doing crazy things with this, which I expect, but that's up to them.
Wow, that's super exciting because most people, I guess, from my channel are used to Total War, where the limit is, you get to around about 20,000 soldiers, over 10,000, and it just dies, basically. So the fact that you've even managed to stress test up to 100,000 is awesome to see. So cool, let's go ahead. You go ahead. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
I was just going to say, you do get a few side effects. Like once the numbers get pushed really, really high, I made some kind of safety systems that allow the battles to function, but they do kind of slow down. So because what happens is when the frame rate gets really low, things start to get a little unreliable. So I had to kind of slow the battle down to make sure everything's still reliable. But that's just a side note, right? So yeah.
So basically, if you're pushing your computer's power, the game will just kind of go into slow-mo?
A little bit, yeah. The units will try to move as fast as they can, but only if they can. There's just a lot of safety systems that tries to keep the battle stable if you're pushing it farther than your computer can handle, essentially. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool, so let's move on to the next question I have. So what factions can we expect to see in the game on launch?
Well, that's a really, really big question because there are quite a few. I probably couldn't list them all here, but one thing that you should probably be aware of is that there is a huge variety, and that's one of the themes behind this game is just putting crazy unmatching units against each other, like World War II soldiers versus medieval knights. That's something I think we all thought about as a kid, or even probably still now, like what would happen, And so that's the main theme behind this game, is just a crazy variety and just pure insanity, right? And I can never predict what happens in these battles until I watch them. Like it's still pretty crazy for me when I do these battles.
And that's what you want from a sandbox game. You want the unknown. You want to be able to do all your wildest fantasies in your head just in the sandbox, on the field.
Yeah. And you can also expect fantasy units like orcs and giants and stuff like that. Like it's just a huge variety. Like I'm trying to get like kind of every genre to be in one game, sort of. So that's the plan.
That sounds amazing. And can these genres team up with each other out of interest?
Yep.
Or can the orcs
anyone
team up
can
with the
be
World War
allies,
II soldiers?
Yeah, anyone can be allies, anyone can be enemies. Like that's up to the player. You just choose what team you want them to be on.
Oh, that's amazing. So you can have some really, really insane combinations then.
Yeah, like zombies teamed up with Santa Claus, something like that.
That sounds absolutely awesome. Cool. Okay, cool. My next question is, what type of battlefields can we expect to see? Because I know you've done a few videos on your channel, which obviously go check out. The link will be in the top of the description, because you've done I think like over 20 videos on the game itself, which again looks amazing. So make sure to go check that out. But you've done a few videos on castles and open fields and villages. Can we expect to see stuff like trenches and other types of defensive terrains? And just what else can we expect to see?
Well, a lot of that is still in development right now, but the battlefields, one thing you can expect is very large open world battlefields because, to be frank, you need a really, really large amount of terrain for a very large battle because, like, one thing that totally caught me off guard is one of the latest units is the catapult. And because the catapult is a lot bigger than a man, I didn't anticipate just how much space they would take up. I tried 10,000 and they took up almost 2 kilometers of space. I was blown away. And the thing is that the size of the unit doesn't really affect the performance. So like, you can fill the entire map with catapults and it's still running fine, So that's one thing that was very interesting about it. So
That's awesome. So yeah, very extremely exciting to see what you do come up with on the battlefield. So the next one, something I think you did a video about a month ago, is that you can actually jump in and play as an individual soldier among tens of thousands. And I thought that was such an interesting and innovative way of kind of expanding the Sandbox game. So can you just give us a little bit of indication how that's going to work? Can you just jump in and play as any soldier at a click of a button, or do you have to do some other stuff?
Yeah, you just have total freedom. You fly around by default, right? But then if you go up to a guy, you just right click and suddenly you're playing as him. So that's literally any unit in the game you can do that. And so I didn't like I wanted to do this from the start of development because whenever I've played an RTS, I've always wanted to, be in that battle and be a part of it as an individual. And I haven't really seen that offered in a lot of games. And I always wanted that. So like that was something I wanted from the start, but I wasn't sure if it would be possible or not with such a large scale and stuff. But it turned out that it worked pretty well. So I'm quite happy with it. And you just run around and you fight and you are literally just controlling what that AI is doing. That's how it works from a technical standpoint. Like when you press forward, the AI is just ignoring what he wants to do and just going forward. That's how it works. So you have to expect to have the same limitations as that AI and the same abilities.
So will you have the exact same stats? You won't just suddenly become like a super soldier. You'll just be, one soldier, one common soldier in the midst of everyone else.
Yeah, that is unless you use a super soldier. Like there are heroes in this game which are very, very, very powerful. And that's another thing that players should expect is that there's a massive variety of like underpowered to overpowered units. So like it's up to you to kind of balance these battles. I mean, there are some units that are balanced to fight each other, but then there are other units that are just stupid powerful, or very weak, like a chicken, for example. So expect a huge variety in power in the individuals.
Awesome. So yeah, you can have like a hero unit against 10,000 soldiers. You can see is that guy good enough to take on 10,000 of this certain enemy. I think that's going to be awesome for creating these.
Yeah, it's not like a multiplayer shooter where everything has to be balanced. This is just a crazy sandbox where you do whatever you want, right? So anything kind of goes, which is great for development.
So my next question is, this is a pretty massive game. Is it just you working on the game, or do you have like a group of people helping you along the way?
Well, it is actually just me. Like, I chose not to have anyone else on this team because it's a very specific, like the entire game is built around one technology, and to have other programmers in on that just wouldn't really make sense because I had kind of designed this technology from the ground up. So the only person I have working right now is just someone who's helping me with emails because I get a lot of emails, and so I have to sort through them and work accordingly with them. So I have someone helping me with emails, but other than that, it's just me working on this game.
That's pretty impressive to see how far the game's come in such a short period of time with just you working on it. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So cool. Let's go ahead and move on to my final question: Is are you going to be adding in any more strategy mechanics into the game, such as being able to group certain units, maybe giving them commands to go to certain places, defend a certain area, or do you just want the game to be just an all-out frenzy where everyone just charges forward and hits into each other and just craziness ensues?
Well, I love that you asked that because strategy has actually been a pretty big theme lately. Like if you've watched the latest video with the new ordering system, that's my way of giving the player strategic control over large portions of the battle. But it's a more kind of boots on the ground approach. So the only way you can order units is if you are in possession of a unit. And what you do is you rally guys around you, and they now become rallied to you, and they'll start following you around, and they will do whatever you order them. So you can tell them to go attack an individual or go to a location and even guard that location. And so you have quite a bit of strategic control. It's not always just running and clashing, right? So, and also at the beginning in the map editor, you can choose whether to have them attack or hold position. So there are quite a few options for strategy, and I'm still working to broaden that even more.
So basically, when you jump in as an individual soldier, you then rally the soldiers around you?
Yes. If you haven't seen one of the later videos, that it covers that.
Okay.
So it talks about the new ordering system. So
I'll make sure to link that below this question in the description, so make sure to go check that out afterwards. So if your individual character dies, do the soldiers then just like kind of relay back to just charging forward, or do they follow the last command given?
Currently they cancel whatever they were doing with you, and they just continue charging or doing whatever they want to do. So I might change that. I'm not quite sure yet, so we'll see.
Oh, so that's interesting, because at my current build, it's kind of like, you kind of almost have to be careful with your life as well. If, it's a close battle, you have to kind of, almost be like that commander, maybe falling back a couple ranks or something.
And that's actually what I kind of wanted. Like I wanted the player to kind of value his life a bit. And because when you leave that unit, they kind of just continue on doing whatever they want as well. So if you unpossess that guy, they'll just be like, oh, well, I guess I'll just continue fighting then. So yeah.
That's absolutely awesome. So I think that's pretty much all my questions. I guess my last question is there any sight of a release date yet? TM question mark?
No, there isn't. This is actually something I wanted to talk about before we wrap things up, though. I wanted to mention that obviously some people have noticed by now that the development has been extended, of course. And the main reason behind this is because of the game, it got a lot more buzz than I originally anticipated it would, right? And with hype and buzz comes more requests and more expectations. And so, of course, with that said, I still can't give a release date, but I can tell you that it is getting very close.
That's awesome.
And I can also say that the first release will be an early access version. So keep your eyes open, and it'll come soon. So don't worry.
That's awesome. Yeah, be sure to obviously, check out. I'll be sure to obviously do a video when the release date does get announced. So make sure to follow me to keep up to date for it, because I am so excited for the game itself. I can't wait just to create all these amazing battles and just see the units clash, and just the scale. It is going to be awesome, that's for sure. So a massive thank you for coming on and kind of giving people a greater understanding of the game itself.
Sure.
I'm sure they'll absolutely love that. So is there anything you want to plug before you go? Your Twitter, your YouTube channel? Obviously, I'll put links to all of these down below in the description, but anything in specific?
Well, one thing you can subscribe to is the new subreddit. It's a UEBS. So the subreddit, UEBS is what the Reddit is. So if you can subscribe to that, you won't miss a thing about the game. So that's probably the only one that I kind of want to highlight, I would say.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure to stick that at the top. So obviously go ahead, check out that, check out your Twitter, check out your YouTube channel, where there's plenty more videos with lots of different interesting stuff on. And yeah, I guess we'll see you guys next time.
All right, thanks so much for having me.